Next, we move on to specification number 10, which asks us to describe the early development of the zygote, focusing on how it forms a ball of cells and becomes implanted in the lining of the uterus. After fertilization, the zygote begins to divide repeatedly as it travels along the oviduct towards the uterus. These rapid cell divisions form a small ball of cells known as an embryo. As the embryo continues to develop, it reaches the uterus and attaches itself to the thickened lining of the uterine wall, a process called implantation. This implantation usually occurs in the upper part of the uterus, known as the uterine fundus. Once implanted, the embryo continues to grow and develop, receiving nutrients from the mother's body. This diagram illustrates the complete journey of human development, beginning with the formation of an egg cell and ending with the development of a fetus inside the uterus. The process starts in the ovaries, where immature follicles are present. Under the influence of hormones, one follicle matures, and it eventually bursts to release an egg cell into the oviduct in a process known as ovulation. If the egg cell is fertilized, sperm cells travel towards it, and usually only one successfully enters. The sperm and egg then fuse, combining the genetic material to form a single cell called a zygote, which is the first stage of a new individual. The zygote then moves towards the uterus while undergoing rapid cell division. It divides into 2, 4, and then many more cells, forming a solid ball of cells that later becomes a hollow structure. If this developing structure successfully reaches the uterus and becomes implanted in the thickened uterine lining, it is then called an embryo. The embryo continues to grow and gradually develops specialized tissues and organs. As development continues, supporting structures such as the placenta form. The placenta allows nutrients and oxygen to pass from the mother to the developing baby and removes waste products, without direct mixing of their blood. After several weeks, the embryo develops further and is referred to as a fetus, which continues to grow inside the uterus until birth. Early development of the zygote begins after fertilization, when the zygote starts dividing repeatedly through cell division. These rapid divisions produce a cluster of cells that forms a small ball of cells known as the embryo. The embryo then travels along the oviduct toward the uterus, where it becomes implanted in the lining of the uterus so that it can continue to grow and develop. After the ball of cells reaches the uterus and becomes implanted, most of the cells begin to specialize and develop into different organs and tissues of the embryo. This stage is very important because the basic foundations for all the major organ systems are formed during this time. The cells divide quickly and arrange themselves into layers that will later develop into different parts of the body. Some of the cells develop into a disc-like structure called the placenta, which attaches closely to the lining of the uterus. The placenta acts as a support system for the developing embryo by providing protection and allowing the exchange of substances between the mother and the embryo. It also produces hormones that help maintain pregnancy. The umbilical cord then forms and connects the embryo to the placenta, allowing nutrients and other substances to pass between them. During this time, the nervous system, including the brain, spinal cord, and sense organs, begins to develop rapidly. After a few weeks, the embryo's heart forms and starts circulating blood through its tissues, the placenta, and the umbilical cord. Oxygen and nutrients such as glucose, amino acids, and ions move from the mother's blood across the placenta into the embryo's bloodstream, while waste products such as carbon dioxide and urea move from the embryo's blood into the mother's blood. The blood of the mother and the embryo does not mix, which is important because they may have different blood groups. By about 7 weeks, the embryo is surrounded by the amniotic sac, and features such as limbs, eyes, and ear openings begin to appear. By around 20 weeks, the fetus has grown to about half of its full-term size and continues to develop quickly. Major organs such as the heart, kidneys, and digestive system become more developed and start functioning better. The mother can begin to feel the movements of the fetus as it moves and kicks inside the uterus. Hair starts to grow on the head, along with eyebrows and eyelashes, and the fetus begins to respond to sounds and touch. By about 35 weeks, the fetus is almost fully developed and close to full-term size. The lungs continue to mature so the baby can breathe after birth, and the brain develops rapidly to support movement and senses. The fetus also gains body fat, which helps regulate body temperature and provides energy after birth. Around this time, the fetus usually moves into a head-down position, which is best for delivery. Finally, around 40 weeks after fertilization, the baby is fully developed and ready to be born. The uterus begins to contract regularly, pushing the baby through the birth canal. After the baby is delivered, the umbilical cord is cut, separating the baby from the placenta, and the newborn begins to breathe independently while its organs start functioning outside the mother's body. So, development takes place over a period of about 40 weeks, during which the embryo gradually grows and develops into a fully formed fetus. This diagram shows the different stages of human development inside the uterus, along with the formation of important supporting structures such as the placenta and umbilical cord. In the early stage, around 5 weeks, the implanted embryo is very small, measuring about 12 millimeters. At this point, it is attached to the lining of the uterus, where it continues to grow. The placenta begins to form and starts supplying nutrients from the mother. The oviduct is the place where fertilization usually occurs before the embryo reaches the uterus, while the cervix and vagina form the lower parts of the reproductive system. By around 10 weeks, the developing embryo grows to about 60 millimeters and is now referred to as a fetus. The umbilical cord becomes clearly visible and acts as a connection between the fetus and the placenta. The fetus is also surrounded by the amniotic sac, a fluid-filled structure that protects it and allows safe movement. At about 20 weeks, the fetus grows rapidly and reaches approximately 250 millimeters in length. It is now more active and continues developing inside the amniotic cavity, which is filled with fluid. The placenta is usually attached to the upper part of the uterus and continues to supply oxygen and nutrients while removing waste products. By around 35 weeks, the fetus is nearly fully developed and measures about 470 millimeters. It occupies most of the space inside the uterus, and the amount of free space decreases. The fetus usually moves into a head-down position in preparation for birth, while the cervix begins to prepare for delivery. Overall, these stages show how the embryo gradually grows, develops essential structures, and prepares for life outside the uterus, leading up to birth at around 40 weeks.